Happy Friday, everybody. It is Facebook Friday. I am super excited to be with you guys today. It's been a little bit since I've come on live and interviewing somebody. And today, what I'm really excited about is, actually, let me tell you what generally excites me. You guys know this. Responsibid was developed to build customer journeys, to allow us to, in a very consistent way, deliver to our customers a really top tier customer journey. Well, how does that help? It helps your customer to want to spend more money with you, develops trust with your customers, and ultimately it makes sure that you just look better because you can consistently produce the same things over and over again. And today I have my good friend Saeed with me. He's from Ascendant Arrow. If you have ever had somebody do Facebook ads for you or Google ads or website work for you, you're probably familiar with companies that deal in like analytics, and unfortunately a lot of them tend to be flaky, but very few of them dive as deep as Saeed and I will show you today into actually designing a customer journey. And so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to be interviewing Saeed, and you guys are going to have an opportunity to ask in the comments. Rusty's with us here in the comments. Hi, Rusty. How you doing? Let me just put that up here. Rusty's in the comments on YouTube. You will have an opportunity to be able to drop your questions in and ask for the things that maybe are adjacent to what you're already doing or maybe really novel to you. So he's got a wealth of experience in driving customer engagement. And I think that it's important that we differentiate between customer eyeballs and customer engagement, because lots of people are good at making sure your ads are shown to a lot of people. But as you'll see, as we go in deeper and deeper into this, it's that whole entire funnel of converting them all the way to a job and delivering a great experience. So Saeed, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Saeed, you want to just take a quick minute and just kind of explain to us how you got to where you're at and some of the things that you would consider maybe your favorite aspects of your job, so that people can kind of get a flavor for what it is that drives you?
Sure. So I started the agency Ascendant Arrow 3 years ago. And before that, I was working at other agencies. Excuse me. I was also working at a big corporation in education, doing SEO. So I've always been very interested in producing maximum results and looking at the data and using the data to drive strategy and tactics. And one thing I realized when I started my agency is that a lot of people, small businesses that would come to us, come from experiences with other agencies where they've been left sort of disappointed. And a big part of that, when we looked into why they're not fully happy and why they're not getting the results they're looking for, and in some cases, some of the companies were actually in danger of going under. A lot of it was that the data wasn't being properly looked at, and it wasn't being properly utilized. And so a lot of the actual situation in terms of what was happening was being overlooked and missed. So I made a decision to treat every client like it was my own business, and to look for the truth of the matter, look for the reality of the situation of what's going on, and then optimize on the basis of what's actually happening on the ground. So that formed a way of doing things that served us very well. We've helped some companies turn around. Some companies that were actually close to bankruptcy have gotten a new lease on life. And we'll talk about one of our clients that part of the solution was Responsibid for turning them around. So yeah, that's a bit about the background. So, and we forecast before we take on a client, so we make sure that we can actually deliver before we start working with them. So we don't go into a project and then find out, okay, maybe there's something that we missed in the beginning and we made empty promises. And really, it does come down to math, which that's what data is based on.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people who know Brandon Vaughn will tell you that saying math is the path, or maybe it was Josh Latimer that first brought that message into my life. But the truth of it is that math is the path. Like, you have to understand what the math is and then just do it. You know, make the equation make sense. So, well, that's really cool. Let's we got a few people here in the room with us. Let's go ahead and first just ask everybody else out there. I'm just going to post a question up here. Do you guys have a well-planned customer journey? And maybe emphasis on well-planned. Your customers are already on a customer journey. The moment they pick up the phone and call or send a contact form into your company, your website, they're on a journey. Now, lots of people, when you call them, it goes to voicemail, or the mailbox is full, or there is no voicemail. And that's part of the customer journey in that particular instance. Some of you pick up the phone, but maybe what you say when you pick up the phone hasn't been planned and it's different every time, or maybe it's perfect and maybe it's generic and whatever, but that's the customer journey. So, Saeed, one of the things that I'm going to be going in with you is just trying to start at the top of the funnel with you and just talk about the things that you're taking into consideration. There's going to be basically two actions. This is what the customer does, and we did this in our mousetrap to lead them to them doing the next thing, right? Or the next event occurring. So if we can, we'll kind of try and take that format. But I'm just curious, in the comment section, who here feels like that's something that you've engineered, that you've really thought about everything from they saw this ad and experienced this thing, they took this action on that ad, experienced this thing. When they experienced that thing, they made this decision or needed a certain amount of time, and we followed up with them in this way, and they had these feelings and experiences, and then they got the job done with us, and then we delivered it in a way that was maybe unique and obviously really brought the value over what they were paying. Because there's that, I'm going to ask you for money, but you're going to feel thankful to give me the money at the end of this because, we were responsive and we did a good job, and our job was actually, we delivered more than they expected. So those are all things that I would love to hear in the comment section if you guys would share some of the things that you've been thoughtful about. But let's start with you, Saeed, in the beginning. Like, as you look at the journey of, and I know you have examples, and I know that every company is different too. So it's not necessarily always gonna be the same, but like you said, math is the path, and there's gonna be a system of sort of the beginning. And what do you view as the beginning of the customer journey?
Well, the beginning is the market itself. So how big is the market? Looking at total addressable market, TAM, which is a metric that isn't often talked about in marketing. But I liken it to the top of the waterfall. So if you look at the whole journey, it's kind of like a flow of water from the top to the bottom. I mean, there's different analogies that are used, right? But that's one I like. So TAM is what's available at the top. That's the wellspring of customers. So that's where we start to make sure that the marketing, whether it's SEO, PPC, social media, even outdoor or neighborhood flyers, we make sure that if there's going to be budget put into any kind of marketing tactic, that there's enough to tap into. So that's where we would start. Yeah. So TAM. And it's actually considered one of the core marketing metrics. Very rarely talked about, even in like marketing books and marketing podcasts, etc. So that's where we start. And quantifying it is, I mean, it's not an exact science, but we use keyword research for a lot of that, SEO tools. So, for example, let's take a local plumbing company. The way we assess TAM is to see how many people are looking for plumbing-related keywords in that particular town. And then based on that, we do a forecast, which is a bit complex. I'm not going to go into the full scope of the forecast. But that's where we start. And then from there, after that, it's if you invest in, let's say, PPC, SEO, LSA, etc., it's about tapping into as much of that as possible. And then it's traffic. So the next metric is traffic. And then from there, depending on the marketing channel, it's clicks. If it's PPC, and then after that, it's conversions to leads. And then from leads, we have something potentially like response bid coming in, which is the mousetrap, where you have bids, quotes, and then you have closing the job. I mean, after that, you have reviews. There's more, right? It doesn't end there. There's reviews, there's repeat business, there's customer lifetime value. But each step of the way, again, going back to math is the path, literally there's a path. And along the way, these metrics help you be mathematical about it rather than just guessworking your way to revenue.
So as you're kind of taking us down this path, you use the term response bid being the mousetrap. The first part is just how the total addressable market, how can we lead them right to the thing they actually want, right? The cheese. If you ever read Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
So as you're looking at the total addressable market, how is that affecting? Does the size of the market address the actual tactics you're going to take, or is it just telling you if it's worth it?
I think it depends on the size of the business that we're working with. So the first question is it worth it or not? Yes. I mean, that's the first question. The second question is, how much do we need? What percentage of TAM do we need to hit the revenue goal? So, I mean, maybe we should start with something before TAM, which is a revenue goal, because if you have a revenue goal, you're going to be able to better budget for your marketing. If you don't have a revenue goal, well, you don't really know where you're going. So the purpose of assessing TAM is to see if there's sufficient demand. It's really about demand. If there's sufficient demand to be able to deliver on the revenue goal in a realistic, pragmatic way. For example, the close rate has to be a certain amount. It can't be too high because that's not realistic. The conversion rate, it just can't be too high. That's not realistic. If the client has those metrics, like close rate, even their existing conversion rate, then we can better forecast for how to translate the TAM into revenue. So it is about seeing, is it worth even investing? And then also how much budget is needed to get there.
Okay. So these first measurements have nothing to do with the tactics or creativity. It's number one, is it realistic? And number two, will it math out if I, assuming the creatives are good and the tactics work good, will my budget allow the realistic revenue goal?
Exactly. Yeah. Is it attainable, right? So that at the end, if you've invested 12 months into marketing, you don't end up disappointed finding out, hey, there wasn't even enough to tap into, which actually has happened to one of our clients. They chose the incorrect marketing channel for their particular industry. There is TAM, but not in that particular channel. So people aren't using that channel so much as they had assumed. Now they have to look at other channels.
Okay.
So the previous agency didn't assess TAM at all. It was not even a point of discussion.
So let's dig in. Let's talk about so can you give me an example then of a bad channel that in a particular instance, and then how you discovered the good channel, and then we can kind of just start following the funnel?
Sure. Well, I'll just use this example. So this particular client is in the lifestyle wellness industry, and they had invested into SEO several $1,000s a month for over a year. They were getting rankings and they were being promised that it's going to improve, things are going to get better by the agency, we're going to get more rankings, we're going to get more keywords. When we did the marketing diagnostic, we discovered that there's not enough search volume for them to even tap into. Even if they get all of the keywords ranked in the top positions, like top 3, they wouldn't be able to deliver the revenue goals of the client. So that caused the client to stop SEO. And SEO is one of our main channels, so I'm not against SEO. It's actually one of our core strengths. But I said, initially he was wanting to switch to us for SEO. And then I told him, I wouldn't even allow you to do SEO because you're just going to waste your money. So now we're switching to We're switching to billboards.
Really?
Out of all things, yeah.
How did you come to the conclusion that billboards would be better than SEO?
Because people aren't really searching for his particular service. So he has a sauna cold plunge center and red light therapy, which is pretty new. He needs to target more the pain points, which is like recovery, relaxation, fatigue. And people aren't really searching for his solution on Google. Very few people are searching for sauna, red light therapy, or cold plunge center, especially it's a smaller town. But there's a lot of people in the like fitness community here. There's a lot of gyms. And if he exposes those people to the promise of relaxation, recovery, etc., with more graphical, visual marketing rather than search marketing, then that could have a lot more prominence.
Interesting.
And social media is working pretty well for him. So this is almost like kind of like same strategy as social media, but on billboards, right? Social media is very visual. So the data points to that being a better approach, and we won't know for sure until we try it. So we'll do a pilot project, like limited budget, to see if it's actually going to pan out before he's going to put more budget into it. But he lost a lot of money on SEO without a positive ROI.
Yeah, you're reminding me of, and I think, just to bend the conversation back to home service, because I know that's a lot of the people who are watching right this moment. You're reminding me of when cleaning, window cleaning, pressure washing, we kind of are easily able to tell like if people are searching for it, right? And if they are, then great. But there's also like a lot of things that people do with flyers and door knocking and I don't know that I've seen a lot of billboards, but I have seen. I can think of Logan and Charity Wilder. They have a billboard in their town. And I guess it brings them a good amount of work too. But the question I have is like, as you look at areas where maybe there is, maybe there isn't a lot of searching, Christmas lights, and a lot of people who use Responsive do Christmas lighting or just outdoor lighting in general. And that's one of those things where everybody sees a resort and thinks they look beautiful with those lights, but they don't think to go search for their own. Another one would be Christmas lights. Everyone knows that they got to put up Christmas lights if they want to like be festive at Christmas time and have those up. But sometimes you need someone to like trigger that light bulb in your head that like, I'm not going to search for that. I need someone to like tell me, you want to get up on a ladder again this year and amid everything else this holiday season, go figure out your lights. And so I see a lot of yard signs popping up right this moment that are all up, like get your Christmas lights up and ready for the holidays. And it's 120 degrees outside right now, but people are putting those signs up. Why? Yeah. Now's the time to start firing those things off. So I'm just curious, like in the home services industry, have you run into people where SEO was not the right answer as well as like this red light therapy, cold plunge stuff?
No, we work with mostly home services. This particular industry is almost like an outlier. And SEO, PPC, local service ads, that works amazing for home services typically. I haven't come across a home service niche where it hasn't been very effective. Because it's more, people are searching for those services. They know what they're looking for often. And so, say plumbing is usually something's happened and you need a plumber. It's a very immediate need. Electrical, pretty much anything around the house, or I don't know, gutters, even windows, right? So it's usually because there's something that needs repair, something needs fixing, and oftentimes it's essential to get it done. So I think for home services, it's a different ballgame. But I would say so we distinguish marketing into demand gen and lead capture. And I want to speak a little bit about that. So demand gen is what I was just talking about, billboards, what you were talking about with the Christmas lights. You see all these signs come up, and that's kind of planting a seed in your mind. You may not need it right there and then, but you're going to have recall when you do, right? So demand gen is one type of marketing. It's more branding. And then lead capture is another type of marketing too. There's different processes, there's different methodologies used for both. I think it's important for small business owners to better understand the difference. A lot of the times, agencies will just do demand capture, which is lead gen. But demand generation, which is more branding, is also important, especially if you want to compete. If someone is more ambitious and they want to reach the top of their niche, their industry, their market, then demand gen becomes very important for that. What's called top of mind awareness, like brand recall. And lead capture doesn't do that. Lead capture is more, if they need a plumber, they'll call that plumber, and next time they won't necessarily call that same plumber even. They might go to Google again, look, oh, I need to fix my kitchen faucet, and then whoever comes up, they're going to call.
Okay.
So,
and that's actually to me, that's actually kind of the demand gen is, in my opinion, my toilet's backed up. I will be solving this by the end of the day today. Like, this is not going to be a luxury.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's other things that are like, I'm having a party this weekend. The windows look kind of like they could use a little something, something. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Let's, how many people I'm willing to call before I figure out if I'm going to solve this problem or not. So it can be on a spectrum from home services for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And I think all businesses do need a mix of demand gen and lead gen. They work together. So the logic is that demand gen, after some time, and consistent demand gen, which is mostly like branding campaigns, it's going to result in leads being generated. So then you capture those leads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's work our way down the funnel. So you've generated some demand. Your SEO is working. The leads start to come in. What does that look like in your customer journey architecture?
So when there's traffic coming in, it's also important to send the traffic to the right landing point. I mean, usually on a website. If it's from PPC, it's much easier to direct because you can control the campaigns, you can control the web page that you send the traffic to, and then that's where it's all about conversion rate optimization. So how do you capture most of the leads, how do you capture most of the traffic that's coming in? And maximizing conversion rate is one of the most profitable things you can do in marketing. If you increase it from say 1 to 2%, you've doubled your business. There's actually a very good article called "The Power Law of CRO." Maybe I can pop it into the chat here. Yeah. It talks about the math of how changing the conversion rate can really change the whole destiny of the company without changing anything else. It's probably the strongest lever possible in marketing. And then if you increase it, if you double it, so let's say it's 2%, and then you increase it to say you triple it to 6%, that's going to triple your business. And it's not that difficult to do. It's actually something where there's a lot of things that can be done, especially by someone that's skilled or a skilled agency, to increase the conversion rate. There's a lot of heuristics and models for how to do it that are proven. So one of the things we always work on with our clients is conversion rate optimization. Like if we don't do that, that's like I feel like we're being neglectful because it's such an important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So leads can come in the form of a phone call. They can come in the form of an email, like a form from your website.
Yeah. So typically it's either forms for our home service clients. It's either a form or a call. Also web chat, we're starting to implement that as well, live chat or chat robots.
Yeah.
Now with AI systems that can be automated to some extent. So I would say, I mean, those are the primary, like 3 primary ways of capturing.
And how do you keep them all organized? Like a web form comes in, that's in your inbox. A chat comes in on, AI maybe takes the first half of the chat, but then maybe it goes to human, and you got phone calls coming in. Like, how are we keeping this all straight?
That's a good question. You have to have the proper infrastructure. So there has to be tools that are organizing all of the incoming leads. And so what one of my clients has is they have a CRM, and then on top of that we have a Responsibid.
Mhm.
And so all the leads go through Responsibid. Even the phone leads now go through Responsibid because we have someone that processes incoming phone calls
Mhm.
and puts the quote request through Responsibid.
Yeah.
So we make sure that everything goes through like the one funnel, and that way we keep everything organized. So nothing is kind of like happening outside of the path.
And obviously, as the Responsibid guy, I feel like obligated here. Like, if you are using phones with humans, then that's one way to do it. If you're using phones with AI, and there is a way that you can drop your leads into Responsibid via our lead webhook.
Mm-hmm.
So, it depends on, there's so many of these AI phone services out now.
Yeah.
So we can talk to you about how leads can be dropped into Responsibid via the webhook, as long as your AI company phone answering service offers it. A lead form, we have lots of customers who maybe don't install Responsibid on their website because they don't want to have like customers getting full quotes, although you could also tune Responsibid to not allow web quotes to go through. But for whatever reason, they might just want to just do a name, email, phone number, just a real low friction lead capture. You can drop those also in, not just to your email inbox, but you can webhook those right into Responsibid. So to Saeed's point, if you're layering Responsibid on top of your CRM in order to sort of track your deal flow, this is key because everybody needs to be in the same place to be worked. Mm-hmm. If you're working, 6 different crops with 17 different tools and, fertilizing with, it gets really messy, really, really fast. And it almost will make it so that you won't even explore potential other avenues, because to do so means that you're already at your max limit of what you can pay attention to, and you'll miss opportunities. So yeah. I think that's a really key point to bring up.
I would add to that it could also cause a situation where the same prospects are followed up repeatedly, and they feel like, oh, this is a business that's not organized. You just call me or you just followed up with me, and it just leaves a bad, it's not a professional impression.
Yeah.
Or certain leads could get lost, and then they may not have been fully followed up with. So we've added a phone layer. This is an improvisation that we've made for one of our clients. Mm-hmm. We actually have a professional answering service, so my client no longer has to work the phone. He was on the phone a lot, but now he doesn't have to be on the phone. There's a script-based live operator service, very professionally trained, very pleasant voices, and it gives a very good first impression. And that takes just 2 minutes. So we've reduced the script so it's just 2 minutes, around 2 minutes per call. And then they get submitted into an inbox, and our closer within the company, my client's company, calls them, and then he takes them through Responsibid.
Okay.
And then he also uses Responsibid for getting the list of follow-ups, and if it's like within the second or so follow-up, he calls them again.
So let's pause for a second, because we've just we've just gotten to a really important part of the funnel. Things have started to narrow down a lot more. We have a lead, and you qualified that lead by moving them to the closer. Like, they've expressed interest, they've raised their hand. This is going to take us to the next step. You already moved to follow-up, and I want to get to follow-up because I have a lot of questions about like effective follow-up. But before we do, I want to talk just a little about the difference between the setter and the closer. And if you could just sort of describe the customer journey at each of those levels so that people can get a feel for the difference and the process.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very important part of the sales funnel. So now we're transitioned from marketing and we're in the sales part of things. So the setter is the person that will qualify the prospect, make sure that they get a good first experience, a good first impression, and help them to assure them that yes, we can help you, and we will provide you with a quote. I'm going to take down your information and I'm going to pass it on to, for example, we call them our solution specialist. So the setter passes it on, doesn't take a lot of time on each prospect, takes a few minutes, captures information, and that's the key. Captures the information, name, phone number, etc., and potentially more. Like, what kind of service are you looking for? What's your address? And then passes that on to the closer. And then now the closer's job is to support finding the right solution for the particular need that the client has, and also to maximize the order value. So, for example, if there's an opportunity for upselling, if there's an opportunity for value adds, and also closing the deal as soon as possible. So overcoming objections, making sure as much as possible that this prospect doesn't go to a competitor, and sealing the deal, signing the contract, so to speak. So the setter doesn't have to be as strong of an objection handler or as strong of a negotiator as the closer. The setter is more that initial customer service impression and taking down information and doing it as fast as possible so that as many leads as possible can be processed and then sent to the closer.
Okay, so let's talk about it from the customer side. The customer comes in and says, I'm interested. And then someone says, okay, let me get some information from you, and have somebody call you right back. I'm assuming that's kind of how that goes.
Well, we want to distinguish between why they will need to get another call and why it can't be done right there and then. Because a lot of people would probably think, well, why can't you give me a quote right now? So I think it's important to help overcome that doubt. And the way we do it is, as long as you say someone like a solution specialist will reach out to you with to get you your custom quote, that takes care of that sense of, well, I'm on the phone now, why can't I get my quote now?
Yeah. So how long are we going to set an expectation for how long they'll have to wait?
We do that. So we say if we don't get back to you within 24 hours, and hopefully sooner, the first call is within a few minutes. So the setter answers within instantly, actually. That's our answering service. The closer, for now, because of limited resources, because it's just one person, we say within 24 hours, and usually it's much faster than that. Ideally, this depends on the client. If you can hire more people, ideally it's within a few hours or within an hour.
Yeah, I would think that would have a huge impact because I'm just thinking about waiting 24 hours versus waiting 30 minutes. That has a big difference. And I, as a lead, will be so much less cool if I got back to you really fast. Exactly. So obviously your closer understands that, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah. He goes as fast as he can. And it's up to the client to hire more closers. So that's something that we can't influence that at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So from the customer journey perspective, I kind of got the setter closer picture in my mind. It makes perfect sense. If people watching will by and large probably be a lot of Responsibid users. So they go, okay, my leads came into Responsibid. I got someone, I'm not letting the customer automate their own quoting process. That's a very big trend, as well. Like some people allow the Responsibid quoting process to be accessible to their clients. Other people, they want to operate, especially people who have multiple sales reps. They're maximizing every lead the most they possibly can.
Right.
So they're going to definitely follow this approach. So we got the closer on with them. Is the price given just directly over the phone then at that point? Like specifications are collected about the job and pricing, go straight to pricing, or what's the process there?
Well, this particular client uses Responsibid for creating the quotes over the phone. Mm-hmm. They also allow self-serve, so the form is available on their website because some people just prefer to not call. And they do provide the price as part of providing the quote. And then, of course, you got to provide the price for the prospect to want to go ahead or not. So it's done pretty rapidly from initial contact to the quote. So they do it that way. They provide it over the phone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So customer gets the good, better, best pricing or bundled pricing. Hopefully they're bundling their pricing and maximizing the deal. Customer is given the prices. You already start talking about follow-up. So for the purposes of this, obviously if they accept, we're going to shut up, take their money, get them on the calendar. So I'm going to just pretend here that they didn't accept. They moved on. Tell me a little bit about your methodology and even theory behind your follow-up process and what it is that you guys do for your customer journey.
Yeah, sure. So one thing I've realized in my own sales experience of doing sales for the agency is most of our sales require follow-ups. Like initial contact is not enough. So I brought this theory into the home services space with our clients, and I looked up some statistics about sales follow-ups, and I knew follow-ups is very important, but when I saw the statistics, well, different statistics here, it just brought it home how important it is. So I have here some stats to share. So 80% of successful sales in home services require at least 5 follow-up contacts.
Okay. That's actually interesting to hear, Saeed, because I remember back in the day, and I'm talking about like a decade ago, the magic number was 7 touches.
Right.
So that's interesting that 80% of successful sales are required, and you did say at least 5.
At least.
Yeah. So that's interesting that people still need to be touched that much with all the noise in the world today.
Yeah. A lot of companies just do one touch point in the sales process and leave it at that, and either assume the prospect is not interested, or they assume that maybe the prospect just has gone to the competition, or like some assumption, right? But the reality is that a lot of people appreciate follow-ups. We're so busy, and I'm like this myself. We're so busy that we get distracted with something else, right? So there's a need that comes up. Let's say I need a plumbing situation fixed. My faucet is broken. I call a few plumbers. I get voicemail, or they're like, we'll call you back. And then something else happens in my day, right? I go out, I go to the gym, I go to a meeting or whatever. It's not top of mind anymore. And that's where a lot of sales are lost. It's not because I'm not interested. I still want to fix the problem. But what happens is the company that followed up, let's say I called 5 different plumbers, the one that followed up is probably going to get the business. I'm not going to go back to the other 5 that I called and try to say, hey, this plumber called me. I want to make sure you have a fair chance in my business. Let me just follow up with you.
Yeah.
So I think it's more that follow-ups are almost like a service. It's like the reminders on our phones. It's like the reminders in our calendars. It helps us remember. And if we think of it that way, it's a paradigm shift. We're not bugging people. We're not bothering them. Because I know that that's one reason one of my other clients, a plumbing client, was pretty stubborn about not following up. It's because I don't want to bother people.
I don't want to be annoying.
I don't want to be annoying. I think it's going to be bad for our reputation if we keep following people. And I told him, no, it's actually the opposite. You're going to both, people appreciate it. Some people might say, hey, I'm not interested. So that's fine. You just say bye and then that's it. But it's also going to be good for your brand because people are going to get more exposure to your brand because you're going to mention the name of your company, right? So this statistic makes so much sense. 80% of successful sales in home services require at least 5 follow-up contacts.
I'm gonna let you share the next stat with me as well. I don't want to keep piling on this one because I think that you've shared with me in the past some of these other stats that are, I think, really key. But I just want to make sure that anyone watching or listening right now pays really close attention to that whole idea of keeping it top of mind of somebody who already needs this, because the next question I'm going to ask you, I think, really goes in, or actually, I'm going to tell you a tiny story, but share one more stat with me if you would.
Sure. So in terms of follow-up, follow-up campaigns average a 60% response rate. Top performing campaigns hit 80 to 90%, like top performing follow-up campaigns. And that's with a mix of SMS, so text messaging and email. So at average of 60% response rate.
So when we market to customers, when we're doing marketing, what would you say is a good response rate to marketing?
So for marketing, it's going to be lower than follow-ups.
Like
much
I mean,
lower.
some people are happy with a 0.5% response rate, right?
Yeah. Email campaign wise, in terms of what I've seen in our clients' accounts, we can hit 20 to 40% open rate with marketing emails. Usually it hovers below the 30% mark. But if it's super relevant, if it's timed well, then we can get 40%. And we're also talking about warm lists. This is like warm lists. This isn't cold lists. This is existing customer lists. But then, follow-ups can be as high as 80%. So
the point I'm trying to make is that if you send out a postcard to 100 people and one or a half of a person, which obviously isn't going to happen, responds, or if you send out an email and it's opened by 30% of the people and you're responded to by 5% of the people, like those are successes. Like you can be happy with those numbers. Like those are good. But a follow-up campaign does not fit. That's the kind of the point here, is that like when you're trying to stay top of mind with someone, a follow-up campaign is hitting a dip. You're in the sales process now, not the marketing process. Yeah. And I think that's what people forget when they say, oh, I don't want to bug someone. You're not marketing them with like standing outside their door unasked and just beating a drum. Boom. Hey, are you interested now? How about now? How about now? How about now? Like you're not doing that. You're literally going to someone who said they were interested and saying, is your interest still there? Would you like to move forward? Exactly. Are you ready for the next step? You've already taken 2 steps. Would you?
You're reminding them, yeah. And I would say you're helping them. You're doing what they're going to require less brain energy to remind themselves. You're helping them with that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are like, oh, thank you so much for following up. Yeah, I meant to get to that. And now that you followed up, I can take care of that issue that's lying around the house that needs to be taken care of.
Now, I know that in the sales process, speed to lead, as it's called, or following up quickly from the first contact, that is a different animal. It's a very important animal, and I know you have a stat on that. But secondary follow-ups in the sales process, let's put it this way. As you go through the process, even when you, and I know that those responsible people listening right now who have the decline status turned on, they know this is true. Even when the customer says they're not interested anymore and they've moved on, your follow-up is doing more than asking for a sale. In the same way that when you are in the dating world, right? Every date is not a proposal for marriage necessarily, but it is a relationship builder. And so, ironically, my wife and I dated, and then we broke up for a period of time. And when we got back together and we actually decided to get married, it was that time apart that actually taught us more about what we wanted in our spouse. And I don't mean to like elevate this relationship to the marriage, but it is human like psychology, which is to say, you presented something to me, you followed up with me, you stayed in touch with me, then you presented something that seemed quite out of budget for me. I am not going to go forward with you. I proceeded with a different person, a different company. They were not very good at following up. They were cheaper. They didn't show up at the time that they were supposed to do the job. They didn't show up at all. They did the job, but they did the job badly. They did something that was, yes, it was less expensive or whatever it was that kept them from doing business with you. But they will never forget that when I didn't pay them, they still were on the ball. I chose to give my money somewhere different. And now I can't help but remember that this negative experience could have been a lot better from a company that is putting themselves out there in a way as true professionals.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also a lot of times they will have a bad experience, as you mentioned, and then they will look next time they have that same issue, they're going to look for a better experience. So they're going to try to avoid getting burnt. And then if you've done things right in the marketing and sales process and made a good impression and been professional along the way, then that's going to stand out for sure.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies are not even doing half of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, half of the companies, more than half of the companies won't even call when you're like trying to buy from them. Like they won't even pick up the phone. Yeah. So let's talk about speed to lead. Let's talk about, obviously if someone's inbound calling, we can summarize this real quick. If someone's calling into your business, pick up the freaking phone, talk to them, right? Like they want it. They are ready to like talk. Now, I'm not saying you're going to sell everybody on that first call, but I am saying that that's a big indicator if you answer your phone that you're going to be a trustworthy company. But let's talk about the ones that come on off the website. So someone sent a lead form in off the website, or somebody, and sent an email or whatever, that this contact has reached out. How do we convert them? And what are some of the statistics around how fast we should try to get on with them?
So, yeah, I have some very interesting stats here. So leads and home services convert 21 times more when contacted within 5 minutes.
21 times more.
I mean, you could actually do some math on what that translates to in terms of revenue, right? So if basically that's 21 times more revenue. That's the way I'm reading it.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about right now in my own business, actually, when someone raises their hand and says, I'll use the free version of Response Bid. It doesn't do a lot, but, I'm kind of interested in checking it out. Like, yeah, we don't convert a ton of those people because we just let them like work in the software and try it out. What if we contacted them in 5 minutes of signing up, just to see like, hey, what are your goals? What is it that you're hoping to get out of the free account? Can we make sure that the free account will do everything you want it to do? Can we make sure that we can show you the paid account? And that's just Response Bid. I mean, if someone says I'm interested in getting my windows cleaned, 5 minutes later, I could already be on the phone with another window cleaning company that did pick up their phone, or respond to an email. So that 5 minutes can be a lot when it's something's top of mind.
Yeah, a lot of people make lists of providers and call the whole list, right? First one, second, third to get the quote. And if you're calling them while they're sitting there doing their whole list, that's going to stand out. Because again, most most companies don't do a lot of this. Some of them don't do any of this. Actually, probably more than not don't do any of this. And yeah, the other part of the stat is that 78% of customers choose the first responder. So the first company that calls them back, or the first company that responds and is able to service them on that first call. So it's huge. Speed to lead is just so big because people don't have a loyalty to your business at this point, and they will choose whoever seems like the solution to the problem fastest, especially in home services, because often it's like an urgent situation. Especially if it's an urgent situation, then maybe these stats would change even to become even more drastic, depending on the severity of the service, right?
I could see that.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about follow-up. What methods of follow-up do you use? Can you kind of help me see more about what you would do, what your optimal follow-up process is for an inbound lead?
Yeah. So if it's depends if it's phone or if it's web form. Let's talk about the web form first.
Okay.
So if they come in through a web form, what's important is to send them a thank you, so a confirmation that their message was received, both on right after the form is filled out on the website, on the web page, and then an email/text confirmation. Even that is going to stand out from a lot of companies. And how you word that makes a difference. You can bring in some of your competitive edges if you have a warranty, some testimonials and reviews, and just being very pleasant and human, like speaking to them in a way where they can feel that customer service ethos. So that's the first. I would say that is like that is the first step in the follow-up. And then if you make a promise, keep that promise. If you promise to call within X number of hours, make sure that happens. So I would say that's the first step.
And in those emails and text messages, what would you say is the main goal? Are we trying to get back on the phone with them? Or are we trying to do something different?
Well, because we have their contact information and we are going to call them back, we don't have to ask them to call us. That's not what we do. We assure them that we're going to call them, and it's also a branding opportunity. So it's an opportunity to reassure them that, hey, you probably made the right choice in contacting this company here. Now that depends on what's unique about your company. So it's a matter of copywriting. It's a matter of the visuals. Maybe if you have a photo of a happy customer, stuff like that. People like that kind of stuff. Photos of reviews do very well at this stage. So it's reassurance, right? You're offering reassurance at this point.
Yeah. I actually had training them. So you can train your customers to ignore you, or you can train your customers to defer to you, right? And those reviews and different things that you send set you up as an expert. Like, let me as the expert help you understand what you're looking for, and then I'll show you why we're so great, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we all know that email and text messaging are important follow-ups, and anyone who uses ResponsiBid, hopefully they're going hard on that. Let me ask you this: with and I know you've set up webhooks and zaps and stuff so that you can sort of link your phones and your ResponsiBid flow and your CRM together and everything. But let me ask you this: what is the advantages of text messaging, and how do you respect the SMS inbox while leveraging it to full power?
There's a big difference between SMS and email. They're not the same. Some customers some clients or businesses make the mistake of thinking okay, we can just use SMS instead of email. I think it's important to realize that they complement each other. So that's the first thing I would say. With text messaging, you get a much higher open rate. That's one of the first things that distinguishes SMS and email. So we have some stats here. SMS is about a 98% open rate versus about 20 to 30% for email open rates on average. So the chance of your message actually being read is much higher with text message, and that gives you a big advantage. There are also downsides, as with everything. Do you want to get into that now, or should we?
Yeah. I'll just list one that comes to my mind immediately with SMSs. I'm thinking back to the last campaign cycle, and my phone was blowing up with campaign text messages from both sides, trying to get me to vote for their candidate and telling me how horrible the other candidate was. Businesses do, to a certain degree, do the same thing. My phone, when I get a new text message from a new number, they're not my contacts, it says block and report junk. Like I can just hit one thing right there and in the messages app. And so you can abuse it. And one of the reasons the open rate is so high for text messaging is that my phone provider, Verizon, they know when I hit that. It's not just my phone. Like what I'm trying to say is it's not like my phone where it's like, oh, okay, I'll block this number from you in the future. It's Verizon going, oh, we got a bad actor here. And then it goes to the place where it came from and it reports it to them. So phone carriers, this is no joke. We know what happened with email, and they're trying their best to keep SMS reined in with regulation. And I know you're in Canada, I'm in the US, and there's going to be slightly different regulation, but the principles are all the same. If you get a new email in, new Gmail address, and you send out in your first 1,000 emails, if you send out 4 emails that get marked as spam, typically it'd be 5 in 1,000 if you have an established email address. That's enough to get you basically completely blacklisted across all emails and never have anything deliver ever again. It's not a very high threshold.
Yeah.
And so what I would just throw out there as we're getting into this is like, yeah, text message is really powerful, but use it wrong and no one will ever get another text message from you ever again.
100%. I think that's why it's important to have permission-based marketing, to make sure that customers have consented to receiving text messages. Same thing with email. I mean, we're more used to that with email. I see a lot of companies that don't fully respect that when it comes to SMS. It's super important. It's better to have a smaller list. It's better to have fewer people to send messages to that have opted in than have a bigger list where you have a lot of people that will get annoyed and then potentially blacklist you and harm your future prospects of using this marketing channel.
Okay, so we have opt-in. We have, if you use Twilio with response for anything, that like every so often, if you use Go High Level, every few text messages that go out to a client, it's going to say, reply stop to opt out and all of that. So permission in, permission continuing on.
Yeah.
And then I would add, you've got to be adding value at every turn. Like a text message that's just, hey, want to get married? 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 Like they get old really fast. So I would just say, and I'm sure this is probably the case with what you're doing. Maybe you want to add anything to it, but whenever we text out to our customers about why, we're following up in the sales process, we have to like deliver a ton of value in hopefully as short a time as possible. So I'm going to be asking you if it's okay to call you. I'm going to be asking you if you want me to do anything. Just you can reply a yes or okay, confirm, whatever it may be. And I'm going to be very clear. I'm not just going to we all over myself. We are so great. We've been in business 10 years. We are so professional. We drive these kinds of trucks. We have these special chemicals. Like email and branding, like you were talking about earlier, that can work. You still need to add value to get people to not be trained to ignore you. No one wants to sit there and listen to you talk about how great you are without some sort of like connection point. But in text message, you got to get to the point a lot faster.
Yeah. One thing I would say with text messaging is what works well is providing something that they can't get outside of the text. So something exclusive.
Mhm.
Okay, like a really substantial promo, for example, and making sure that the customers know that they can't get this through email, they can't get this on the website. There's no other way to get this except for being on this text message list. And then that makes it more valuable, right? That makes it more worthwhile, the hassle of getting a text all of a sudden, getting interrupted, and then seeing that, oh, I'm getting something here that's of value, that it's also rare. You can't get it anywhere else. So that's the strategy that we play with, and doing fewer text messages. So I think with email, it's okay to do more, but with text, it's better to do less, because it is pretty annoying, right? It's like we expect our texts to be from people that we know, from a personal contact. And we don't really like to have marketing messages coming in, because it's just so intimate. It's
Yeah.
a more intimate channel.
And you just have to respect the channel. That's right. Like everything else. Phone calls are intimate. You got to respect the channel. You know, if you call me 3 times in a day, like we're done, dude. Like get out, like freaking chill out, right?
Yeah.
But if you send me a phone call, if you do a phone call today and then you email me right after saying, hey, I just left you a voicemail, but maybe email's better, right? That can work, because you pair them with some sort of like cohesive, coherent sort of connection. But if you are texting me all the time and all communications done through texting, I would say that probably better not be automated because it's such an important thing that we would be talking very directly to each other, going back and forth. And then texting's great, right? Because I can be in a meeting and I can still be getting something done on text. That works. Yeah. But you got to understand that, like, weeing all over yourself in 5 text messages over the course of 5 days, it's not going to get you very far.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing we use text messaging for now, we've connected live chat to text. So when people live chat with our client, they get the response by text, and people love that, because it's about scheduling, it's about getting the service, it's about asking questions, and they can also opt out. So we brought that in as an additional module. So that I think that's a good way of using texting. It's literally what texting is for. It's a conversation. It's not just a marketing message.
Exactly. And I know people use texting in a couple different ways. I'm going to share a couple quick practical ways you can use it. Hey, I just sent you over an email with your quote. I just thought I'd text you over to check your email. Why? Because people check their text messages quick. They check their emails slow. This is a very sensible way to reach out to people, to let them know that, hey, now you can reach me either way, the way that works best for you. But the quote was easier to send via email. So now it gives me a good opening to use text messaging so that you will take action in your email inbox.
Yeah, it's that reminder again. You're helping them.
Yeah. Okay. Another way people use text messaging that's really important is using another person in the conversation. So if I am trying to sell Saeed, I can send him an email that says, here's your quote. Excited to do business with you. I can send you an email the next day that says, hey, did you get your quote? Do you have any questions about it? I can send you a text message just a couple hours after that that's from Jim. And Jim says, hey, Saeed, I was just talking to Curt. I know he was working through your email. Now, there was some sort of conversation between Curt and Jim that is now being used in this text conversation to Saeed. So Saeed now is a third party to a conversation, and he's being included in it, but it's not an outer darkness discussion that just goes into a big black hole. So you can do the same principle in email. The thing about text messages and bringing another channel in is that if Curt has in any way rocked Saeed's boat, Jim is a new person I can reply to, say, well, I got to be honest with you, I wasn't going to say anything to Curt, but just so you know, Curt has been annoying me in X, Y, or Z. Or I don't think Curt is listening to my real problems. Or I've been kind of ghosting him because I'm not really sure what to say to him, but X, Y, Z, right? This third party gives a relief valve to the conversation. So that's a very practical tip that I know people use with great success.
Interesting. It seems like follow-up tactic that could bring a lot of people that maybe have stopped responding, bring them back to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the last one I'll throw out there that could be really cool in text messaging is that we often find ourselves trying to say a lot. I only have one message. I got to say so many things. People don't reply to long messages very often. Try sending one sentence.
Yeah.
Try sending half a sentence. So maybe instead of saying, hey, I was just following up on the quote to see if you had any questions and if there's anything I can do for you, we here at Window Cleaning RS are always stand behind customer service. We really can't wait to be. What if you just said, you still looking at the quote? Or what if I said, is the quote good for you? Right? Like, what if I just sent that? Because guess what? Which one of those trains you to ignore and which one of those trains you to engage or to defer to, right? So make sure that you're thinking about those sorts of things, particularly in text messages. Now, emails can be just as powerful. A 2 to 3 sentence email will typically get a much better response than a 2 to 3 paragraph email.
Yeah, and it also conveys confidence, and it conveys that you're not desperate for the sale, which turns people off big time, right? So it's more like, hey, are you interested? Because we do have other people that are interested. So just let us know.
But you don't have to. A lot of these things are unspoken. Like a lot of people think I have to say that in order for you to know it. Text messaging, you can say so much with so little.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my kid, if he sends the text message response to me, K, just the letter K, well, I'm going to go punch him. Because to me, the letter K means I can't even say okay. It means, okay, whatever. Like there's a lot of that in it, right? But if I send you a message and you just respond LOL, right? Depending on what the message was ahead of time, we could be laughing about something. You could be laughing at me and the insinuation I just made. Text messaging is a very powerful thing that can be done with so little, and people are used to it. In fact, if you go through the people you chat with the most and the people that maybe you convey the most information with, you will probably find that 1 or 2 lines per text. You could scroll and see a lot of text per scroll. So I'm not saying this to totally revamp everything that you're doing. I'm saying it as some sort of guiding principle that you could look at as you're making refinements. Maybe refine one text. Maybe go in and say, can this 5-sentence text be a 1-sentence text? See what happens. Try it.
And that's actually a good point. Try it. So a lot of optimizing marketing and sales is about experimenting and then following the data, right? So try different things, have a hypothesis, kind of like in science, a theory, put it to the test, collect data, see how that went. If it's good, better than what it was before, keep it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, discard it.
Saeed, I just looked at the time and we have kept these people for a little bit longer, but I really need to just share one more thing about what you do. And for those that have been listening for the whole duration, Saeed did share with me a link ahead of time for his like slide deck. So I want to share that with you guys right now. I'm going to put it in the comments. It's a Google Drive link. And what you can do is you can go there. It's a PDF. And I know it's big, kind of, you're not gonna be able to do anything with it on the screen there, but that's what's in the chat. What I'd like you to do is go check that out. At the end of it, there's contact information and stuff. So this is super useful for you. But Saeed actually made a really cool offer that I asked him when we were going on. I was like, is there anything we can do to like kind of get you into the lives of these people? And so just to be clear, for those of you listening, Saeed said early on that he treats his agency as if it's his business. So yes, in a lot of cases, you probably got confused for a minute there thinking that Saeed actually runs a cleaning company or an electrician or a plumbing company. But in fact, it's just because that's how close and personal he is with his clients. And so he said he can't do it for more than 3 people, but there's an email address. I'm going to put that here in the, actually you want it to be connect at, I'm going to,
yeah, we can use that one.
Okay. So connect at ascendantarrow.com. It's in the chat there. If you'll reach out to that email address, he said that he would work with 3 people to do what's called a complimentary marketing diagnostic. Now, he talked at the very beginning about, figuring out how much water in the waterfall is going to go over the edge, total addressable market, or TAM. There's a lot involved in figuring out all the stuff we talked about at the beginning about what kinds of things you may or may not need, and what kinds of, because again, he talked about people paying for SEO that shouldn't be paying for SEO. And that's like literally one of the main things he does. There's so much that goes into these marketing diagnostics. He's going to do it for free for you. I would definitely take Saeed up on that. If you fall in a couple different categories. Number one, maybe you have an agency that you've been paying, but you can't really see an ROI. I would probably meet with Saeed if that was the case. Maybe for a while, you've been wondering if you should hire an agency to do the marketing while you do the technical work of your business. Maybe you're small or you've been growing and you can't manage all of it. Maybe it's time for you to reach out to somebody who does this for a living. And if you fall in that camp, I would also reach out to Saeed here. Maybe you're in one of those boats where you've been doing it yourself and you've been getting some results and you think, maybe you do know what's up. Maybe you've got this working really well. I would, in that case, also reach out to Saeed. Those are just 3 examples of people that I talk to all the time that it's really hard to know what you don't know in an industry that's so big. You start feeling like you know what's going on, but then at the end of the day, you actually don't know. But if you talk to a professional and they give you that affirmation that, hey, you're actually crushing it, well, then cool. Or if they come to you and say, look, you're almost crushing it. Here's one more thing. Can you handle doing that one more thing? And you will be crushing it. I can tell you from personal experience in our marketing world, like 2 little tiny tweaks from a mentor into our marketing made all the difference in the world. So think about that. If you are coming into this fall season and you want to get your traffic up and running, and not just the traffic, but a holistic view of converting that traffic into customers, that's what Saeed does. So I've shared with you both the link to his slide deck, which has contact information in it, and also an email address. The slide deck, I know if you don't look at it right now, you're probably never going to look at it. So you need to do that now. Or there's only going to be 3 people that he gives this free marketing diagnostic to. And again, it's pretty intense. So if you're thinking you might be one of those people, please do not reach out to him unless you're actually going to respond to his emails and get going, because this is taking up space on his calendar. But if you've been waiting for an opportunity, this is kind of a golden opportunity. So I'm throwing that out there for you guys on both YouTube and Facebook, so that you guys can take advantage of this. And Saeed, I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to do that. That's a really cool thing you've done.
For sure. Yeah. Happy to help. And this was great. I really enjoyed it.
Right on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you guys are asking yourselves that question. What are you doing in your customer journey to make sure that it's intentional and it's good? And if you can't answer that question, maybe reach out to connect@ascendantarrow.com, or definitely take a look at that Google Drive link in the comments. We'll see you guys next time. Happy Friday. We'll see ya.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.